Thank you very much, Sharka, and thanks to the organizers for their effort to maintain the event. Thanks to Raphael for all his work in Lumini for the logistic part. So I will speak today about a joint work with Roberta Bianchini, which deals with compressible Euler equation under a maximal density constraint. It's closely related to the talk of Anne-Laure Dalibard this morning. So I will begin with, again, an introduction with the background, the physical motivation of the equation. So sorry for the repetition with what has been already presented this morning. So the system is the following. You have a fluid system in black. So Euler equation with mass conservation plus the momentum equation, and with the Navier-Stokes equation, but I will not talk about Navier-Stokes equation today, but here you have the dissipative tensor associated to the Navier-Stokes equation. And to this basic system in black, I will add a maximal constraint on ρ, on the density. Okay? Alors, to simplify, here in all this presentation, this maximal constraint will be assumed to be constant, equal to normalized to 1. Okay? And associated to this constraint, okay, you have a constraint on the velocity. Divergence u in the congested zone has to be non-negative. And you associated to this constraint, you have a Lagrange multiplier, P, here, which has to be non-negative, where ρ is equal to 1. So here, the maximal constraint is expressed in a unilateral constraint with this relation, which expresses the activation of the pressure P, the Lagrange multiplier, in the congested domain where ρ is equal to 1. Okay. It's a free boundary problem because the interface between the free phase and the congested phase evolves, and it's an unknown of the system. Okay? And it's not explicitly described in this formulation. It is implicitly encoded in the density and the pressure. Alors, how this system appears in physics? Alors, first derivation of the model by Bouchu, Brognier, Cortes, and Ripoll. It's a really formal derivation of the system. It starts from a two-phase flows equation with mass conservation for liquid, mass conservation of the gas phase, and the same momentum conservation for liquid and gas. Okay, and you have interaction terms in M. Okay. Alors, the singular limit that Bouchu and collaborators studied is the following. They consider that the ratio between the characteristic densities of the two phases tends to 0. Okay? Assuming that the velocities are close to each other, then formally, in the limit, you obtain the pressureless equation on the volume fraction alpha of the liquid phase. Okay? So in the limit, formally, we should obtain pressureless equation. But the problem with this system is that you do not ensure the maximal constraints, the physical constraints on the volume fraction. Physically, a volume fraction should be between 0 and 1. And formally, on the limit system here, we cannot recover this constraint. So the idea of Bouchu, Brognier, Cortes, and Ripoll is to say that actually, P, the pressure term, does not go to 0. It tends to multiply by epsilon. It tends to a limit pressure of residual pressure pi, okay, which is activated only where alpha is equal to 1. Okay? So in the limit, you do not have the pressureless equation. You have a Euler system, pressureless system with a pressure pi, which is not a function of alpha. It's just associated with the constraint alpha less than 1. Okay. Voilà, so, but until now, I don't know any rigorous justification of this limit. It's just a formal introduction of the free congested Euler system. Next application that I would like to propose is wave structure interaction, partially free surface flows. Now, this has been studied recently by David Lan, Eduardo Bocchi, Tatsuo Higuchi, and David Lan. In fact, in this system, you have a coupling between a solid structure and a liquid. And you consider this system in the shallow water regime. So here you have the Saint-Venant or shallow water equation in black, and you have the coupling with the structure through the Lagrange multiplier P. Okay? So physically, the height of the flow, h, has to be less than the maximal height prescribed by the solid, h sol. Okay? And as soon as h is equal to h sol, okay, so you are under the structure, P is activated. Okay? And is different from P from the atmospheric pressure, which is satisfied outside, far from the structure. Okay, so the difference with the previous system, with the free congested system, is that here the constraint is activated only where you have a structure. Okay, outside the interior domain, the constraint is equal to plus infinity. Okay, and here associated to this system, you have specific transmission condition at the interface. It is you have continuity of the height of the flow, continuity of the rate, etc. Voilà. Alors, what are the mathematical difficulties associated to this free congested equation? Okay. Alors, for the moment, as far as I know, there are no existing results for strong solution for the limit system, for the free congested Navier-Stokes equation. For the moment, we know some result about compressible and incompressible free boundary problems for emissive fluids. Okay, so it means that the interface between the two phases is closed. Okay, so you can find this type of result in recent paper by Shibata, Denisova, Solonikov. The problem and the main difference is that with the congestion problem, the interface between the incompressible phase, the congested phase, and the free phase is not closed. Okay? The volume of the region where ρ is equal to 1 can grow with time or shrink. Okay? So the main difficulty is to ensure regularity of the pressure, ensure regularity of the interface. Okay? And a priori, we do not impose any transmission condition at the interface between the free and the congested phase. Now, first result, local well-posedness result in this direction for a congestion problem is the work of David Lan and Tatsuo Higuchi. Okay, but I've already said that it is a little bit different from the initial formulation of the problem, which is here. For the moment, what we know for the congestion problem in 1D is the existence of a global weak solution for that you can find in the paper by Berthelin. So global weak solutions are constructed through an approximation by sticky blocks. It means that you have discrete congested blocks which evolve freely till collisions. And another recent work is a work that I did with Michael Weissenberg, and it's based on a Lagrangian description of the dynamics. Now, what is important to note is that these two last works on global weak solution are restricted to the case where capital P, which is a barotropic pressure, for the case of Saint-Venant equation, which is the case here, capital P should be rho square over 2. Okay? But here, this system cannot be does not enter in the two frameworks that, here by Berthelin and with Weissenberg. Alors, a possible way to construct solution is to approximate the problem with a soft congestion approximation, which has been presented by Anne-Laure Dalibard this morning. Okay, the problem that I presented just before is a hard congestion approach. It means that P is activated only where rho is equal to 1. The soft approach consists in considering repulsion force at the microscopic level. For instance, if you think of a crowd, there are social forces between individuals, and these social forces prevent us to have contact. Okay? So at the macroscopic level, at the continuous level, all these social forces or repulsion forces will be taken into account in a singular pressure, P of rho, which blows up as rho goes to 1, close to the maximal constraint. Okay? Alors, for instance, you can take P of rho equal rho over 1 minus rho. Okay? Alors, now, to make the link between the two approaches, you consider, you assume that the strength of the force of the pressure, epsilon, goes to 0. Okay? And you have two competitive effects. Epsilon, which goes to 0, and rho, which can go to 1. Okay? So formally, in the limit, the pressure becomes more and more negligible when rho is less than 1, and it is formally activated only when rho is equal to 1. Alors, can we justify this singular limit? It was done in the first paper with Ewelina Zatorska under assumption on the singularity close to 1. We proved that global weak solution to the soft congestion model converge in a weak sense toward global weak solution of the hard congestion model, the compressible Navier-Stokes equation. Other singular limits are possible and analogous, like the penalty method developed by Pierre-Louis Lyons and Nader Masmoudi. Alors, in the case where the viscosity is 0, in the case of Euler equation, we do not know anything for the moment. Okay? The compactness method failed for the moment. We do not know how to justify rigorously the limit. But there are some numerical studies by Pierre Degon and collaborators, and Didier Bresch and Renardi. In both studies, they have numerical evidences to prove that numerical solution of the soft congestion model are not too far from specific solution of the hard congestion model. Now, this is the starting point of our study with Roberta Bianchini. We are interested in the singular behavior of the strong solution, of solution of the Euler system as epsilon goes to 0. Okay. Alors, in our studies, there are two parts. First, the existence of global weak solution for the system at epsilon fixed, and another part which is smooth solution and behavior of this smooth solution as epsilon goes to 0. Okay. Now, since I do not have a lot of time, I will just detail this second part of the work. Okay, which is the local in time smooth solution and what happens as epsilon goes to 0. We want to understand how the maximal time existence, how it depends on the small parameter epsilon. We want to understand the small scales associated to the singular pressure. Okay. Alors, smooth solutions. Alors, it is convenient to pass to Lagrangian coordinates and to obtain, when you pass to Lagrangian coordinates and use V, the inverse of the density called the specific volume, you get the P system. Okay? And this P system is endowed with a singular pressure P epsilon of V. And here I assume that P has the explicit form written here. Okay, so the singular part, which is dominant where V is close to 1, and a non-singular part, kappa over V to the power gamma 2, with some assumption on kappa and gamma 2. Okay, so this corresponds to the hydrostatic pressure if you look at the partially congested shallow water equations. Okay? And I will explain why this non-singular part of the pressure is really important in our work. Alors, this system has an hyperbolic structure. The characteristic speed are C epsilon, it is linked to the pressure, of course. And you have the Riemann invariant, W epsilon, Z epsilon, which are constant along the characteristics. Okay. Alors here you observe that this Riemann invariant depends on the pressure through the characteristic speed. And since the pressure is singular, theta of epsilon will be singular close to 1, provided that gamma 1 is larger than 1. Alors, first result. Thanks to the hyperbolic structure of the system, the control of the Riemann invariant ensures a minimal constraint on the specific volume. Okay? You control from below the specific volume V epsilon, provided that initially you are above 1 at a specific scale, epsilon to the power 1 over gamma 1 minus 1. Okay? Now, how this scale come from? Alors, the pressure behaves like epsilon V minus 1 to the power minus gamma 1. If you look at the function theta epsilon, which is in the definition of the Riemann invariant, this theta epsilon behaves like square root of epsilon V minus 1 to the power 1 minus gamma 1. Okay? So if initially you assume this on the lower bound, this lower bound on the specific volume, then you control uniformly in epsilon the Riemann invariant, W epsilon. Okay? Since the Riemann invariant are constant along the characteristics, the domain, here sigma, is invariant, and you control for all times theta epsilon of V epsilon. Okay? As well as the velocity U epsilon. Okay. So it means that you control at a specific scale the lower bound of V epsilon for all times. Now, what about the upper bound on the specific volume? Now, here the idea is to introduce new variable, Y epsilon, Q epsilon, which satisfy both Riccati type equation along the characteristics with a source term A epsilon, which is linked to the pressure like that, okay? Which is really singular, close to the minimal constraint on V epsilon. Now, if initially Y epsilon and Q epsilon are controlled uniformly with respect to epsilon, then for all times we deduce a maximal bound on V epsilon. And here it is really important that we ensure kappa larger than 0 and gamma 2 between 1 and 3. Okay, alors to see that, you use the equation satisfied by Y epsilon and Q epsilon to control Y epsilon and Q epsilon for all times. Okay, then you come back with the definition. You come back on W epsilon, Z epsilon. Okay, and this adding the two variables, you deduce a control on dx U epsilon times square root of C epsilon. Okay, and now finally, using the mass equation, you deduce that square root of C epsilon dt V epsilon is controlled by this capital Y plus capital Q. Okay, and you end up with you conclude by integration in time. Here, to get this inequality from here, basically we say that the singular part is negligible compared to this non-singular part here. And so the assumption that kappa is larger than 0 is really important to get this maximal bound on the specific volume. And you observe that this maximal bound deteriorates as time goes to infinity. Okay. Good. Now for the existence of a solution at epsilon fixed, you have the following theorem, which says that if the initial data is everywhere rareifactive, okay, so basically it is everywhere rareifactive if the space derivative of W epsilon naught and dx of Z epsilon naught are non-negative on the wall line. Okay, then the solution is global. Okay. In the other case, where you have some compression in the initial data, then you have a blow-up in finite time. Alors, for the blow-up in finite time, the idea is to use the Riccati equation satisfied by the variable y epsilon and q epsilon. If you have a compression point in the initial data, it means that initially this term is negative. Okay. And this term is positive. Okay. So what you have, you just look at the behavior of this A epsilon. Okay. In the worst case, far from the constraint, C kappa, A epsilon is bounded from below by a constant which depends on kappa times V, the maximal bound, the upper bound on V, to the power gamma 2 minus 3 over 4. Okay, so if we come back to what we proved just before, okay, the V max behaves like T to the power 4 over 3 minus gamma 2 for large times. So it means that here A epsilon is larger than a constant over T over T. Okay? So the integral of A epsilon between 0 and T goes to infinity as T goes to infinity. Okay? So it means that in finite time, okay, the integral between 0 and T of A epsilon, it will be equal at some time to 1 over minus 1 over y epsilon. Okay? And this shows the explosion of the solution. Alors, what can we say about the maximal time of existence? Okay? Alors, if again we focus on the equation satisfied by y epsilon, okay, when at time t epsilon star, you have integral between 0 and t epsilon of I epsilon is equal to minus 1 over y epsilon. This is what I said just before. So you have a lower bound on t epsilon star. Okay, it is bounded from below by 1 over the sup of A epsilon times 1 over minus y. Okay. And what we want to do is to bound from below uniformly in epsilon this t star. Okay. Now in the worst scenario, I will not describe all the cases, but in the worst scenario is the case where V epsilon is close to 1. Okay, everywhere. In that case, A epsilon it behaves like epsilon to the power minus alpha with alpha positive. So it means that T epsilon will be like epsilon to the power minus alpha if we do not assume anything on the initial data. If now we assume that y epsilon at a compression point, this y epsilon is very small, then we can compensate the singularity in A epsilon. Okay? And we can get a lower bound on T star. And this lower bound is independent of epsilon. Okay? So in the end, we have to assume that close to the congestion constraint, this dx w0 and dx z0, their negative part, has to be very small, close to 1, close to v equals 1. Okay? And this is expressed by this inequality. If now you come back on the velocity, since u is the sum between w and z, this inequality means that you have a constraint on the negative part of dx u epsilon 0 in the dense region. So if you come back to physical interpretation, it means that initially, close to the congestion constraint, you cannot compress too much your data. Okay? So if we come back at the very beginning of the talk, I said that a constraint on the divergence of the velocity field associated to the constraint rho less than 1, divergence u has to be non-negative. Okay? And it is exactly what is said here. As epsilon goes to 0, you recover the negative part of dxu, or divergence u0, has to be 0. Okay. Alors now, since we have a time capital T independent of epsilon on which all the sequence of solution v epsilon u epsilon is defined and regular, we want to pass to the limit epsilon goes to 0. Okay. Alors how to do that? Alors what you have to observe is that the limit is not completely obvious. Okay, you control v epsilon u epsilon and the space derivative, but the pressure is not controlled because it is singular. With the Riemann invariant, you control the specific volume far from 1, okay, at a specific scale, but this scale is not enough to control the pressure. Okay. Actually, for this lower bound, the pressure behaves like epsilon to the power -1 over gamma 1 minus 1. Okay. So you have no uniform bound on the pressure. To pass to the limit, we will try to control this pressure uniformly with respect to epsilon. Alors to do that, in fact, we will not have a L infinity bound, but just a L1 bound. To get this bound, we will look at the momentum equation and say that for the weak formulation of the momentum equation, and use a specific test function phi that will allow us to get a control on P. Okay? If phi is well defined, then you expect to control this right-hand side and deduce a control on P. Okay? Alors, I will not detail the calculation, but a good function, phi, is like this one. Okay? You take phi such that its derivative is equal to the average of v epsilon over an interval minus capital L, L, minus v epsilon at t and x. Okay. Alors, to conclude the argument, okay, we need to control this average uniformly with respect to epsilon, far from 1. Okay? And this is where we need this assumption on the initial data. Okay? We state that for some L star large enough, the average of the average of V0 is far from 1 uniformly with respect to epsilon. And if you assume that, then you will find if capital L is large enough, then this quantity will be far from 1, larger than 1 uniformly with respect to epsilon. Okay. And you recover a control in L1 uniform with respect to epsilon on the pressure. Alors, you pass to the limit in the weak sense, finally. Remember that you have a control of V, dxv, dtv. So you have strong convergence of the specific volume V epsilon. So you have strong convergence of the non-singular part of the pressure P2, which is linked to the parameter kappa. And for the singular part, you only have a convergence in the sense of measures. Okay? But coupled this weak convergence coupled with the strong convergence of the specific volume, you can deduce the so-called exclusion constraint on the pressure, which states the activation of the pressure in the congested domain. Okay? Since you have strong convergence of V epsilon, this product converges weakly to V minus 1 times P. But if you express this product, you find that it is equal to epsilon to the power 1 over gamma 1 times P1 epsilon to a positive power, less than 1. Okay? So you know that this term is controlled uniformly with respect to epsilon. It is multiplied by a positive power of epsilon, so it converges strongly to 0. Okay. So the final theorem, there exists a time interval 0t and a limit triplet VUP such that we have strong convergence of the specific volume, strong convergence of the velocity U epsilon, weak convergence of the pressure, and the limit VUP is a solution of the free congested P system, which is written here. Of course, the mass equation will be satisfied in the classical sense, but this equation will be satisfied only in the distributional sense. Voilà, so I conclude. So with Roberta Bianchini, we have analyzed the solution of the singular compressible Navier-Stokes equation, so self-congestion system at epsilon fixed. We proved the existence of global weak solution. We describe strong classical solution, and we have exhibit the dependency of the maximal time T epsilon is its dependency with respect to epsilon. And we proved the limit epsilon goes to 0 under some compatibility condition on the initial data. So of course, the perspective of this work is to try to justify this singular limit in a weaker framework, like a BV solution, for instance. Okay, that's all. I will stop here, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. It was a very nice talk. So there are some questions, remarks. So I don't know if there is somebody in Rimini.
No, there is nobody here, I think. Yeah, yes,
Yes,
okay.
and
there is someone.
Okay. Yes, please.
So I had a question about this, the kappa and the gamma 2, the parts in that you need to add in the pressure in order to have some upper bound on your specific volume. So I'm not sure I fully understood. So this one doesn't really come from the modelization. It's something that you need to add.
But no, if you look at the wave structure interaction, then it is the hydrostatic part of the pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is, okay. But then, you know, my feeling is that you could add something more general, right? You probably need something, I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. It just has to be. It just has to behave like this pressure close to 0.
Okay.
Enfin, close to V goes to infinity.
Close to infinity.
Oui, oui, just the problem of vacuum. So density close to 0, so it's V.
Okay. So when the V, okay. So you need it to be maybe integrable and maybe something else. Oh, so could you take something that is a more general pressure law, assuming some monotony assumptions or integrability?
Yes, just at infinity, it has to be like V.
So you need to have a power law at infinity,
ouais.
which is like that. Okay.
Ouais. Oui, enfin, you have a more general function theta, and then you. But the problem is to inverse the function theta to get something, to get the dependency with respect to t. Because what is important is not the upper bound for itself, the upper bound to deduce that the divergence of the integral, which is here.
So
this is really the.
Okay, so you need to have something that is maybe not explicit, but at least quantitative,
yes.
in order to have a control to it.
So I think Piotr, he wants to something to, yeah, or not?
May I have a question, Piotr?
Yes, please.
I have a question concerning this multidimensional case with viscosity. What is known, or rather, what are the expectations as we start from density below 1? So if in finite time we are able to get this incompressible one, I mean
Sorry,
density equal 1.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
The issue is the following. We start with density lower than 1.
Ouais.
And question is, we consider this limit system epsilon equals 0. And question is, if it is possible to get density equal 1 in finite time.
As epsilon fixed, you said?
Yes, epsilon 0.
Epsilon 0, yes.
Yeah, so there are such examples? Or numerical?
Yeah, alors, wait, I can give the reference to Bresch and Renardi,
Okay.
where you have such behavior. In fact, the compression has to be strong enough with viscosity. Attends. But I have no explicit. No explicit result in mind.
Okay, so this is not clear somehow, yes?
This is not clear. Ouais.
Okay. Yeah, because formally, as we know, density is lower than 1, so we do not see any restriction just to go to 1. So as we touch 1, so then the restriction appears.
Yes.
So it would be natural to have this 1, I mean, possibility to get this 1. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, I have maybe questions also. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have two small questions. The first one, so you pass to the limit when epsilon goes to 0, you obtain regular solution, which
yes.
are C1 or something like this. Do you have uniqueness on the limit system? Does it mean that the solutions
the
are
problem
unique?
is the regularity of the pressure. Yes, V and U will be regular, but P, a priori,
is not, yes.
Ouais,
it's a measure.
Ouais. So for the moment, I'm not sure that.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
And my second question is that you mentioned that you want to extend the work with BV initial data, so it means that you want to use the theory of small initial BV data. But in this case, what it means on epsilon, do you think that you can have a uniform BV estimate?
This is the goal, right?
Oh, no, okay, it was just a mix.
It's good to have a small initial data, but small independently of epsilon. Yeah.
And after it should work? Yeah.
If we are able to do that, then...
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So there are some other questions or remarks? Yeah, I was just thinking about this pressure. So you simply need this hydrostatical part. So some good behavior, if I understand well.
Yes. What I have presented a work which is really related to the specific form of the pressure, because I wanted to exhibit the explicit scales with respect to epsilon. But a priori, if you take general singular pressure, depending on the behavior, depending on the competition between this epsilon and this 1 over rho to the power gamma, but you may have a more general singularity here, then a priori you can extend the result to more general pressure. It's just that we wanted to exhibit the specific scales associated to this pressure, but a priori...
It is very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there are some more. Seems to be not the case. So thank you, Charlotte, very much.
Thank you very much.